everyone, today we're going to be going out to a portrait photo shoot and we're going to be comparing the Zeiss 55mm f1.8 versus the Zeiss 50mm f1.4. So if you're trying to decide between these two lenses, should you splurge a little bit and go for the 50, or should you budget a little bit and the 55 will be okay? And if you have the 55, should you upgrade to the 50? Today's video is going to answer all those questions, so let's head over to our photo shoot. Since we have a 50 and a 55mm, I first want to start off by taking a shot from the same spot and putting them up side by side so you guys can see the subtle difference between the two lenses. So I'll start with the 50mm. I'll just get like a mid-length shot of Haley. And then I'll get the same shot from the same spot on the 55 as well. So if you want to maybe sit down there, so we'll start off with some like shady portraits. I'm getting like a mid-length shot, so I'm cropping off like just at your legs here. Yeah, I like that leaning forward, looks really nice. Even like play with your hair a little bit as well. One of the first things I noticed while taking these side-by-side images is the color rendition. I had the same white balance on both cameras, but I think I say it on location at some point in the video too, but I prefer the look of the 55mm lens straight out of the camera. The colors look more vibrant and contrasty. This is good if you don't like editing your photos or if you only do subtle edits to your photos. The 50 is good because you always want a flatter or more plain looking image to work with if you prefer editing your photos a lot. I personally found it easier to edit the 50 photos, even though the 55 was a really great base to work with too, and my favorite final images from this photo shoot are a pretty equal amount from each lens. Oh, that looks so pretty with the flowers. So far, both lenses are keeping up with each other well due to the nice, even lighting we had to work with. Next, we can start to see a few differences with some harsher sunlight in our next location. And then we'll go into the lovely sun. So next up, we're going to take a full body shot in the strong sun, but with backlight. And I'm going to start on the 55mm 1.8. So you can move around a little bit, like kind of sway side to side and move your feet. Yeah, that's beautiful. I noticed throughout this shoot that the 55mm shots had a washed out lens flare in the bottom right hand corner of a lot of the backlit shots, whereas the 50 did not. I was not using a lens hood on either lens as I wanted to see how they would focus in this sort of lighting and to see what kind of lens flares we would get from each lens. In terms of focusing, both lenses seem quite even to me in terms of performance, even with movement or backlight. I think we might do one. Could I get you sitting on this little rock? I feel like if you sit with your knees up, you can maybe rest your arms like on your knees. Yeah, I like that with your hands in the shot. Really in this next spot where we have Haley in the shade and some very bright overexposed spots in the background is where we can start to see some of the differences between both lenses. While the 55 takes some beautiful photos that match in sharpness and quality to the 50, I noticed that in this lighting, the 55 had more inconsistencies with focus. You can see here that pretty much all the photos I took on the 50mm were sharp with consistent focus on Haley's eyes, whereas the 55 had a lot more out of focus photos. Relax that hand a little bit, maybe just like kind of down that way. Yeah. I always think that you can really see how well gear performs in the worst situations. While this lighting is not something I would normally choose to shoot with, sometimes when you're out on a client shoot, moments like this happen, and it's nice to have a lens or a camera body that you can rely on and know that you can get the right shots in a time crunch. I would say the 50 is a great option if you find yourself in situations like this, maybe if you do wedding photography or a lot of full day photo shoots. I find that the 50mm just has great consistency in terms of performance. It's actually my favorite Sony lens that I own, and I use it a lot for my client shoots. Now it's actually my second favorite thanks to the new G Master 35 1.4 that just came out, but it was number one for a while there. That's so pretty. I'm gonna do a shot at 2.8 on both cameras as well. Again, we're in like the backlight, but it's a little bit shady here as well. Oh, this location is so cool. That looks awesome. Try some if you kind of like maybe bring one shoulder up or like towards the camera and then back away, and yeah, beautiful. So I'll start with the wider shot first. Now we have some photos that I took at f2.8 on both lenses. Even with the lenses not wide open, I still found that the 50 was more consistent. Most of the comparison images I think look really similar to each other, only very minor differences when you zoom in to 100%. I think in the last close-up comparison, I personally prefer what the 50mm looks like. You can see some beautiful skin texture and it's really sharp, but not in an overwhelming or digital looking way. But like I mentioned earlier, my favorite shots from this day were actually just an equal amount between both lenses. We could even try one, maybe if you lean up against the wall with like your shoulder. I have to say, the 55mm lens really impressed me. It takes beautiful photos that are really sharp and the autofocus performance is solid. I can see why so many people love this lens. Considering the price difference, I really recommend the 55mm lens if you want a more budget-friendly lens for your Sony camera. While I did mention that the 50 is more consistent, especially when you're shooting tight on time, I do feel like if the 55 is your main lens, you do eventually get to know its strengths and weaknesses over time, and you would be able to shoot with better consistency. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing those comparisons and seeing those example photos side by side. I would love to know what you think of the differences down in the comments below, and if you use either one of these lenses the majority of the time for your photography. The Zeiss 50 is my lens that I use the majority of the time, but I do love that 55. It's a really beautiful lens. But thank you guys so much for watching. I make new videos every single week, so I'll see you all next time. Bye.